But yes, that is just all about the 714 method. You realize that's an easy strategy. Just follow it one by one. This is Friday. When you go, you see what's Thursday. It's just go around. You see the trade. It's just the same thing, the same analysis, the same trade, the same execution. Hello guys and welcome back to this channel. So we are talking about the 714 method again. Why are we talking about the 714 method? Because you guys cannot stop asking me about this. I mean, a lot of you guys are using it and you are being profitable, right? So you can't stop asking me to make videos on it, and I'm just going to try my best and do that for you. Now, if you've been on this channel, you realize that if I did not trade within a week, I don't really like talking about that week's 714 method, right? Because this is based on analysis, this is based on what trend, this is based on what past experience, or this is based on the market movement. So if I did not trade it, I can't talk about it. Now I had to trade it last week, which is why I'm going to be talking about it this Sunday. Right now, if you've known me on this channel, you realize that at the end of Sundays, I usually do what? Make sure I teach you guys, or I remind you guys how the 714 method went. Now, for the past weeks and for the past months, I haven't been trading at all. I just started serious trading this month. Last month was when I actually started again, but I wasn't really trading that much, right? So this week, 714 method was good. I made a lot of profit on it. Let me share the analysis. Let me share the trades. Let me share how I got into this trades, right? Now, if you are new to this channel, you probably don't understand how this strategy worked, and don't really worry yourself that much, because I will actually be doing what? Be trying my possible best to actually help you understand how this strategy works, right? Now, it's going to be a very simple strategy. It's, you already know how we do it here. It's very, very simple. Don't stress yourself. Now, what is the 714 method? The 714 method is a very simple strategy. Why am I saying it's a very simple strategy? You just need only two lines. You need to mark on what? 11 a.m. UTC plus 0, and you mark what? 12 p.m. UTC plus 0. Or you mark 11 a.m. landing time, 12 p.m. landing time. That is all. And whatever happened between this zone, which is a 1 hour period, whatever happens within this zone, we trade against it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever happens within this zone, we trade against it, and that is all. So within this zone, if price ends up being in a what? In a downtrend. So if we are having something that looks like this is a downtrend, right? So we trade against that downtrend, which is we find our levels down here to use to execute our trades, which will be a buy trade. It's that simple. That is how the strategy is. It's not a big deal. Don't stress it too much. Most of you guys have seen you stressing this strategy too much, and you end up losing a lot of money, right? Now, this strategy only has three models. It only has three models. One, the uptrend model. Two, the downtrend model. And three, the what? V-trend model, right? Now, this V-trend model is one of the easiest to trade, even as compared to the uptrend and downtrend model, right? But we are going to go through it because I actually use almost all within this week. So we'll go through it. I'm going to teach you guys how the strategy works. It's very simple. Take your time, analyze or understand, right? Now, if you look at the chart currently, this is Monday. Remember, this is Monday. We are starting from Monday all the way up to what? Friday. It's going to be a very simple analysis. So don't really stress yourself that much. So this is Monday. And obviously, I forgot to add one simple factor. What do we use to trade this strategy? We use fair value gap, support and resistance, and an order block, right? So let's go ahead and mark this strategy. So first things first, this right here is 11 what? AM, right? So this 11 AM landing time is just this candle right here. So this candle right here is 11 AM landing time. You can just put it on it, and that is it. That is just what you need. Now, the second thing you need to do is mark 12 p.m. landing time as well, which will be here. Now, I'm looking at down here. That's why I'm able to mark this. But you can equally use the strategy, right? I think my strategy, sorry, you can equally use the indicator, right? But I think that indicator is no longer available. I have to republish it for you guys to use. I have an indicator for it. It makes things very, very easy. Now, if you mark this level, the only thing that you need to do is what? Wait for price to finish wherever it's doing within this zone. If we are in an uptrend within this zone, you are selling. If we are in a downtrend within this zone, you are buying. If we are in a consolidation, it has another way of trading it, which is a V trend. I call it consolidation a V trend because price is equal. Price started from here, came down, went up to this zone right here. That is an equal trend. So the only thing you do is you mark this high, you mark this low, and you wait for a BOS below or a BOS above. That is all. You execute your trade. That is how the consolidational model is. So you see that it's very easy, right? Now, after marking this zone, what we need to see is price moving all the way through. Now I'm going to actually make this a little bit fast because I want you guys to see what happened, right? So obviously you can see that price has actually moved through Monday's 714 method. What do you think happened right here? What do you think happened? It's very obvious that price started here. We had a drop, a push all the way up to somewhere around this zone right here, and price is coming back down, right? So indirectly, price is equal. Just like I said, if you have a V trend, price is equal. That was what happened on Monday. If you have a V trend, it means price is equal. This is just one half of a consolidation. What is a consolidation? Something that looks like this, right? So this is a consolidational trend, meaning sellers are above here, buyers are below here, and they are all equal. They are buying and selling at the same exact price point, right? So that is the same thing that happened here. And whenever this happens, you can go and look at the original video, which I explained this 714 method very, very well. You can go and check it out. You see how I explained this, right? So if this happens, the only thing you need to do is mark this high and mark this low right here. Why are you marking this high and you are marking this low? Because it shows that price is equal. We have sellers, we have buyers. Price is now equal. So what you need to do is just wait for price to break below this or above this, give you a BOS to trade. Because if price breaks below this, that shows that sellers are conquering the market. And all you need to do is wait for that BOS to execute a trade. Now, in any case, this was just an uptrend. We would have been looking at the previous levels to find the order block and the support and resistance, or the what? The fair value gap, to actually execute our trades, right? But this was what happened on Monday. It wasn't really a big deal. It was just a very small price movement. Not really a big deal. So all I needed to do was just wait. As you can see, price broke down. So meaning I had a level right here that price could eventually come back and take out. Also, you can see price taking out this high too. So that is why you always wait when you have this type of V trends. You wait for the confirmation. What is the confirmation? The V trend. When the V trend, when the BOS is given, you can now execute your trade. Remember, stop loss always goes above the low that created the BOS. So you can see the price is now coming all the way down to this zone right here, which is quite nice. Even till now, extremely nice. We've not had a BOS until this level got taken. Now, a sweep, I don't count it as part of a BOS, because it shows that sellers were actually in the market, but they couldn't hold that low, right? So this was the actual sweep right here. This was the BOS that created. Where did that high came from, which is here? So at this point, you already know what to do. At this point, you already know how to execute your trade. And at this point, you already know what to target, which is the most important part of this what trading, what to target. Now always target the first low that you encounter as your TP. No matter how close it is to this trend, always target it as your TP, right? I've always said it, target it as your first TP. So this could have been your first TP. This is a support zone right here. You can see price broke through it, so price will be coming back to retest it. Remember, in this strategy we use support and resistance, fair value gap, and an order block. So since here is also a fair value gap, I suggest your first TP around somewhere here. And as always, the last low or the last high should be your final TP, which should be this zone right here. So in this case, we have two levels already marked, which are very, very good levels. So we are trying to avoid price entering inside this fair value gap and pushing all the way up. And at the same time, we are trying to catch this low right here that price should be able to sweep. That is, if sellers are coming into the market very, very strong. Now, obviously, I've been using this strategy and it has been working. I've been using it to trade news. It has been working. So this is not a new strategy to me. It's always good, right? It's always good to trade this strategy. It's not a new strategy to me. Now, as you can see, with this amount of push, your first TP will have been hit extremely easy. So at this point, you are just waiting to see how price is going to get to your what? Your final TP. And that is all. You don't really have to do anything anymore. You just have to wait until price gets to your final what? TP. Now look at the rejection that we have around this zone. Price ended up pushing all the way up. Remember, if you know anything about order flow, let me pause this and talk to you. If you know anything about order flow, you understand that this is the current trend from here all the way down to this zone. So price coming back inside is just retesting this what? Supply zone right here, or pulling liquidity from this or somewhere here. Now you can leave that trade, that second trade right here, hanging. But sometimes I would advise you get out if there's a change of character with this trend. Why? Because sometimes this can just push all the way up. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't on the charts when my first TP got hit. I just saw it on my phone. My first TP got hit, and I don't even see this move all the way up. I would have gotten out of the trade around here, somewhere here. I would have gotten out. But unfortunately, I did not see it. So price had to pull all the way back into my entry again. If you followed my trace, you realize that anytime I take my TP and there's some sort of rejections, I just go ahead and get out of the trade. Why? Because I believe that you always get a new trade, right? But that wasn't what happened. Even though price did come back into the zone, it ended up coming all the way up to my final, or all the way down to my final TP, which was quite nice because it wasn't really a big deal, as you can see. It ended up shooting all the way down to my what? My final TP, which was very, very good, very, very good trade. Nothing serious, right? So this just shows that most of the times, yes, price could easily do what? Price could easily come back into your entry and later on just continue its movement. Why? Because it's just having a retracement. There's the high, there's the low right here, retracement back inside. So it's just a normal thing. Now, this was what happened on Monday. And obviously, you do know that every day is different. Every day is what? Different. Some days we get trades, some days we not get. Just like Tuesday. Tuesday was kind of wild, but let's just dive in. Let's look at Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday? All right, so this is Tuesday, and this was how the trend went inside the 714 method. Now, obviously, by looking at this, you already know how it went, right? This is an uptrend. I don't have to sit you down to convince you that this is an uptrend. By looking at this, you know this is an uptrend. So, if this is an uptrend, what do? We look for sells. What do we use to sell? We use support and resistance, fair value gap, and an order block. Those are the things that we use to actually do what? Trade, right? Now, obviously, whenever the 714 method finishes in an order block, remember, I've taken a lot of trades with this strategy, and I've always said it in my videos. If it finishes in an order block like this, I don't trust it. So I'll always wait to see a reaction before I trade, or I find a better level. Now, on Tuesday, it was very, very unfortunate for me because the only level that I could find to actually use to trade the 714 method was two levels, which was one, this right here, this other block right here to execute my trade from, and two, this fair value gap right there to execute my trade from. Now, initially, this was what I was looking at. So, because this fair value gap was close enough, my entry was here, but my stop loss was actually above this. So it was kind of a big what? Trade. It was a very big trade. And this was what I was looking at. Why was I looking at this? Because that is how the strategy tells me or teaches me to trade, right? If we're in an uptrend, I look forward to shorting the market. I look forward for the market to move in a different direction after this 1 hour period finishes, right? And this happens almost all the time. So because of that, I was looking forward for sales in this fair value gap. Remember, the fair value gap is one of the things that we use to actually execute. And remember, if I was executing here, this would have been my first TP. And as you already know, the overall low right here would have actually been my last target. That's where I would have been targeting for price to actually come to, or that is where I would have been targeting for price to move towards, right? So this was just it, but it was unfortunate. I did not get the trade. Very, very unfortunate. I did not get the trade. Price did not get into the fair value gap. So my trade never got triggered. But it actually moved in the direction. The analysis was right. The 714 method went marvelously right. Just that it was unfortunate I did not get into that trade. So obviously you can see that first TP got hit around somewhere here. Price came all the way down to this low, and that was it. So this was the full trade. But unfortunately, I did not get to be in this trade because price never got to that level. And price did not get to that level, you can't force yourself to trade, right? If I'm executing a trade based on a strategy, I stick to that strategy. Why? Because I don't want to make a mistake and you not follow the strategy and to end up hurting your account, right? So because of this, my entry was here. Price never took it, and that was just it. That was the only two levels I was looking forward to selling from. Price did not take it, price did not get here as well. But it later on went all the way down to TP. So you realize that even this, the 714 method works, but obviously price does what price does, right? So there wasn't any trade to take from this. Remember, it's a very simple thing. If you mark your levels 1 and what 2, inside here is 1 hour period. After that 1 hour period, the only thing you are looking forward for is above here. That is, if price is in an uptrend, you are looking above to the previous what trends to actually use the final order block or the order block that is closer to this price movement, or the fair value gap that is closer to this price movement, or obviously the support and resistance that is closer to this price movement to execute your trade. And that is all. So if it's a downtrend, you look below and you execute a buy. So if we are moving up just like here inside the zone, we look forward to sell. As you can see, it happened. It just didn't take my trade. If we're in a downtrend, we look forward to do what? To buy. And obviously, this happens more times that you can even count, right? So this is a very simple and very, very easy what analysis about Tuesday. I don't have to sugarcoat it. I did not get the trade. It's not a big deal because most of the times, even if I'm not in this trade, I'll probably be in a trade on a different pair, right? Remember, the 714 method doesn't just work on only gold, it worked on what? Numerous pairs. So I am comfortable trading it with gold. If you are comfortable trading it with Euro USD, go and do that, right? I've used it on NASDAQ, I've used it on US30, I've used it on a lot of trades, right? And I've used it to trade news on both NASDAQ and US30, and it has worked marvelously. So that was just it on Tuesday. Nothing serious, nothing huge. Let's go to Wednesday because Tuesday was kind of depressing, right? Extremely depressing. So Wednesday we were actually in a downtrend. Obviously, as you can see, price was in a downtrend before we got to the 714 method level. Now, remember, this doesn't really matter. We don't care about what is going on here. All we care about is what is going on inside the 714 method, which is inside the zone right here. Now, when you look closely at what happened, you realize that Wednesday 714 method repeated what happened already, which is a what? An equal trend. I've said this countless times. I'll say it again. If the market is equal, you do what? You mark the high, you mark the low, and you wait for price to break out, give you a BOS above, you buy, give you a BOS below, you sell. It is a very simple thing. Why is this working? Because this is an equal zone. So if this is an equal zone and buyers are ready to do what? To shoot up, they'll give a BOS obviously above. If the sellers are ready to shoot down, they'll do what? They'll give a BOS obviously below, right? So it's a very simple thing. You just have to understand that. So you can see that what happened inside was an equal price movement. Price started shoot, pull back, and boom, all the way back to that same high. So this is a consolidation. And a consolidation is a what? A V trend. You trade it just like you trade a V trend. You don't stress yourself. This was very, very easy. You did not need to actually think a lot about this because all you needed to do was just mark the high, come and mark the low, and that is it. That is just it. You don't have to do anything. That is just it. Wait for price to give you a BOS, either above or below. You execute your trade. You don't have to stress yourself, right? Now, this was it right here. It wasn't really a big deal, and it wasn't really a fat trade. Just that, remember, if price gives you this BOS, it's now up to you to put your stop loss either below here or below this. Now, I usually find a sweet spot to put my stop loss. Why? I just put it in the middle of this and that. Why? Because sometimes price might eventually come back and take this out because this might just be a smaller low to this, especially if this did not really retest this zone right here, which is the breakout zone. There's a high chance that price might take it out. So I usually just put my stop loss inside like this. But most of the times, you just put it at the high that created the low. Putting it here is just to do what? Save yourself if in any case. But the most important place you should put it is just this low right here. Give it space, and that's all. Now you target the first high of the trend. I've told you, no matter how close it is to your trend, that is your first TP. Why? Because usually the 714 method happens quite close to news. So news usually boost it up or just take it up a little bit and bring it back down. Right? So this should have been your first TP. Multiply it into 2, your second TP right there. And this should have been your trade, right? This should have been your trade. Just a 1:2 trade. Now, price did shoot all the way up and just continued going, but I was already out of the trade. I went out very, very early, not even around here. I think I was actually trying for price to get to this zone right here. There was this double high that I marked. Okay, this is it right here. This is right here. So this is this double high right here that I actually wanted price to get to before I could get out of the trade. Why? Because that was a lot of liquidity zone. Now I did think that if price gets to that zone, it would drop all the way back down massively, right? That was what I was actually thinking. But when price got there, we just had a little bit of a pullback, and I went out of the trade. So it ended up shooting all the way up, as you can see. It ended up just shooting marvelously all the way up. I was already out of the trade. So you realize that the analysis is very simple. I've told you we have only three models: uptrend model, downtrend model, and a consolidation, or like I used to call it, or like I feel like calling it, or the name that I give it, right, which is a V trend. It's just a very simple thing. Understand it, and it's that easy. You don't have to stress yourself. So yes, that was what happened. I got out around somewhere here, but price ended up just shooting all the way up anyways. And it just kept on going. It went for a couple of minutes before having a couple of what rejections, right? But that was just it. Price went up marvelously, and I had nothing to do. I did not also want to add on to a trade again, so I just allowed it to go. So realize that price reacted, but it did not really show any interest of pushing back down. So it continued. I would have been in this trade, possibly 1:6, or probably 1:5, right? It would have been, or maybe 1:7. Now let's go to Thursday. Let's see what Thursday has for us, because Thursday was kind of a little bit complicated. All right, so this is Thursday. Now, I've already said that Thursday was a little bit complicated, so you already have a clue as to what happened, whether it stressed me or it didn't. Now, obviously, you can see that Thursday we are in a downtrend, right? Very simple. We're in a downtrend. If we're in a downtrend, what do? You look for fair value gap, support and resistance, and an order block to do what? To execute your trade. That is just it. And you look for it below the trend to your left. It's that easy. Don't stress yourself. Now, Thursday, I did stress myself. Why? Because price had all the things that I just mentioned. And if you've been watching this channel, you know anytime price has all of these things present, That zone is very strong, but at the same time it will be confusing to trade. So I usually just put my stop loss at the last order block, because if price has all the things, I don't know which one is going to be good for price, right? So I usually just put my stop loss at the end, and that is just it. So when you look at the trend, you can see we are in a downtrend. We are looking around this zone to find our levels. Now the first thing we can see is a fair value gap. Yes, this fair value gap is close to what the trend, right? It's close to the trend. Remember, you could say that we can use this order block right here, but I've already told you, if an order block is already tested inside the 714 method, please do not consider it. At least wait to see a break of structure above it before you even consider it's going to be good. Because so far as it's tested, it can be broken, right? So that is just something that you don't do. So this was a fair value gap, a very strong zone to execute a trade, followed by an order block which is below here, this zone right here. So I think I should mark all so that you see how confusing it was. So fair value gap, you can see it, right? Fair value gap followed by what? An order block right here. And at the same time, we have a support and resistance. So we have a down here support, and also up here support zone right there. So you can see that there's a lot of things here, and all of these things are valid things that we use to actually execute the trade, right? So you can see why I was confused. And obviously you can say that if everywhere is quite important and quite strong like this, then why don't I just use everything, right? Why don't I execute a trade right here, so somewhere here with my stop loss just being below here? Why don't I do this? Now you can see that yes, I could do this, but my stop loss is going to be extremely huge, right? It's going to be extremely huge. So I boiled it down to two levels, which was very strong in my what analysis, right? So this was a level that sellers came in before buyers conquered, meaning this was a very good what demand zone. So I mark this, and obviously you already know I have to mark this last order block as well. So this was the only two levels that I now boiled it down to. If price comes into the zone, I'll be executing my trade with my stop loss being below this level right here. And that was it, because I can't choose from here. I can't choose between this and this. Why is this so important, and why is this analysis so serious? When you look at the trend itself, you realize that this is a last low that got taken. After this last low got taken, it created a low, which is this. So price really did not sweep this that much, but it ended up shooting all the way up, right? So this is the last order block of the trend. This is the last order block of the trend, and this is also a very strong zone inside the trend. What do? I just have to use it like this, and most of the times this is what happens, right? You think you have to execute that trade this way, but it will end up tricking you into executing it with a very bigger loss size. And obviously I was resulted into doing this because I did not have any choice, right? Now, if I had gone to a bigger time frame, which is a 1 hour time frame, I could have just found a simple or a single order block right here, which I would have used. But obviously, this strategy is traded on 5 minute time frame, and I don't like mixing it with different time frames because you might get what it's wrong, right? So this should have been my first TP, and obviously you know where the second TP should be, which is the last high of the trend. So this right here should have been the second TP. Now, yes, even though price did take my trade, it stressed me a lot because it made me actually think whether this trade was a good trade for me to take, or whether this trade was a bad trade for me to take. Obviously, you can see what happened right here. Look at this zone. Price came close. It did not pick my trade. It went all the way up. And at this point, I was wondering, should I have taken it on this 5 hour gap right here because that was strong? But this was already a strong rejection, so I couldn't have done anything. I should have just waited, right? Or I'll be missing the trade. But it eventually came back and took my trade, even went all the way down to the other block right here. And that was what I was actually second guessing because this was very strong. This candle was very strong. So I was actually second guessing my entry, right? But eventually price shot all the way up and that was it. So sometimes you just have to stick to your analysis. You just have to understand that if the strategy works, please don't really stress yourself that much into refining it way too much, right? This was what happened here. Price came around somewhere here. I had to run away. Why did I have to run away around this zone? Because you can see what happened. I wanted price to take out this high. There was a double top right there. Price came and tested it and immediately dropped all the way back down. What is it telling me? A lot of sellers are above this zone. So meaning this is a strong sell zone right here. And I shouldn't mess with it, right? So the only low that was keeping this trade available or that was keeping this trade valid was this low right here. If this low is taken, the trade is no longer valid. I should get out of the trade. So you should understand this as well and start using it. So you see that the trade got invalidated here, right? So the trade was invalidated. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm getting out of the trade with the amount that I've secured. Remember, first TP I've already gotten hit, right? Now, this is one of the reasons why I implemented this sort of thing. If price gets closer to my TP around here, I'm taking the profits. No matter what, if price gets close to this is my TP, this is price, I'm taking the profit and I'm leaving the trade. That is what I do most of the times. But I did not do that because I actually had really good hopes for this trend to continue pushing all the way up. But I didn't. It ended up falling all the way down, and I was just really not happy about how the trend moved. But so far, so good. It wasn't really a big deal, right? As I've already said, this strategy is not a big deal. Just take your time. That is why I'm talking to you like I'm teaching you, right? I'm talking to you like you are sitting with me and I'm teaching you, I'm guiding you so that you understand how the strategy works. Only three models: uptrend, downtrend, and a consolidation of V trend, right? Easy as that. Now let's go to Friday and see what Friday has for us because Friday is one of the most hardest days to actually trade with this strategy most of the times, right? So let's see what Friday has for us. So let's look at Friday. Now, by the time that we finish this Friday trade, you'll probably be saying that then why was I saying Friday is one of the worst days? Well, if you start trading this strategy, right? If you are new to this channel, you start trading this strategy, you understand why I'm saying this. Fridays and I think Mondays are one of the worst days to actually trade this strategy. But I think 2026 is so far good. It's not really hurting the strategy that much, right? So obviously, as you can see, we're in a downtrend. You already know what's going to happen. If we're in a downtrend, we are looking to do what? We are looking to buy from here all the way up. That is all. You are not trading just because you want to trade. You are trading with rules, right? What does the rules say? The rules say that you should find a fair value gap, order block, and then a what? A support and resistance to execute your trade. That is what the rule says. The rule said that you should find an order block, support and resistance, and a fair value gap to execute your trade based on this strategy, right? So that is what you do. Now, when you look closely, you realize that this is the last order block of the trend, and that is it. There's nothing to use. There's no fair value gap for you to use here. The only fair value gap that you might be thinking of using is this fair value gap, this small, tiny fair value gap inside here. Which even if you are trading here, you should be putting your stop loss below here. Just like I did on Thursday. If there are a lot of things that you are supposed to use to trade at a particular location, the order block is always the most important, right? It's always the most important one. So this was just it. This was just it. Now I started this by telling you that Friday is always hard. Yes, this Friday wasn't hard, but Fridays are always hard. So I'm just trying to acknowledge you. I'm trying to tell you so that you put it inside your head that Fridays, most of the times, is hard. So you have to take your time because Fridays are when people do a lot of stuff, manipulate things, right? I don't know whether people are really manipulating it or we are just trading it and putting it inside our psychology, right? But obviously, yes, that is what Friday had for us. You can see that this is very easy. No stress, nothing. This is Friday's trade. Nothing. You should have not stressed yourself. You follow the strategy, which is you find a fair value gap support and resistance on other block closer to the trend. This is the trend. This is it right here. Now, most of the times, if it's not, or if you can't find these things closer to the trend and there's news, wait for that news to manipulate. You find the place that is actually nearest to the manipulation to execute your trade, or you just wait for a market structure shift, right? But that was it. Friday was one of the easiest. But I'm just telling you, note this down. Fridays are very tough. When trading this strategy, don't joke on Fridays. Fridays, take your time, analyze it carefully before you execute your trade. Fridays are always tough, but this Friday was kind of a little bit easy, right? So that was just it for 2026. I mean, I did not start trading this again last month. So I don't know how January went. Most of you guys that are trading it, and those of you guys that are texting me, I've seen it. I've not really just been able to make videos on YouTube. So that's why I've not been actually making it for you guys, right? But I think I should probably start those that are requesting for how to mark good supply and demand zones. I'll probably do it later. But yes, that is just all about the 714 method. You realize that's an easy strategy. Just follow it one by one. This is Friday. When you go, you see what's Thursday. It's just go around. You see the trade. It's just the same thing, the same analysis, the same trade, the same execution. It can be a buy, it can be a sell. Remember, it can be a buy, it can be a sell. And if there is news, always protect your capital. If there is news, put a stop loss. Usually, if there's no news, I don't put a stop loss. But if there's news, put a stop loss because price can just do anything. We can have this push right here. We just go up a little bit and shoot all the way down. And one thing that I also have to say is now you can see a shoot all the way down, right? But that's not important. Well, the most important thing is respect the strategies, profit levels. Respect the strategies, profit levels. You see that anything that I do, I don't exaggerate the profit. I do exactly what the strategy says. This is the last high. This is the ultimate high. Simple. When you come to this strategy, or this trade right here, sorry, this is the last high. Now obviously we did have this push all the way down, so you could have considered this as the last high, but it's still the same concept. Last high, ultimate high right here. When you go to this trade, you see that I did not do anything quite serious, right? Last high, and I was looking at the ultimate high. I did not get any, so I had to find some right here, which was this level right here to use. You can see the price got to it, even though I got out and it continued pushing all the way up, but I still respected the strategy. Now, when you look at Tuesday, it would have been the same thing. It would have been the same thing. This was the entry fair value gap, even though this wasn't a trade that price actually took, but it would have been the same thing. Nothing serious, nothing complicated, right? It would have been the same exact thing. Entry, first TP, because this is the last low, ultimate low right here, second TP. Put this inside your head. You can execute 3 trades. You can take first and second TP here, you take final TP here, or you can take first TP, second TP, you leave final trade to run. That is all that you can do. That is just it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to check up on Sundays to see the weekly analysis of the 714 method.